Okay, welcome to our map guide for steps, or as Meathead calls it, steepies. So this is a standard north-south map. It's got some named areas. The area on the 1-2 line round about G and H is called rocks, and it's usually where the heavies end up fighting. There's a sunken road down the centre of the map, which is called Suicide Alley. There's also what's just called East, but it's the 9-0 line. There's rails at the top, which is the railway lines, all special. So where do you go? Well, let's say that you're going to do scouting. This is not a passive scout map. This is an active scout map, which means you have to run around everywhere. But that said, there are some interesting rocks all over steps, and they sort of act like magnets. So you'll see a lot of scouts getting sucked in and hiding behind rocks, and then they're pretty much out of it for the game. Where are they? Well, the worst one is at E7. Everyone seems to get clogged up there. And there's another one over at D9. And Meathead wanted me to point out that pro players can head to the center where you can get to E45 and F45. And Pigeon of War has a very particular one at E4, where he is convinced you can hold down with a little scout and cause all sorts of trouble. Once again, I have to say they're pro player moves. TDs usually set up at the beginning north and south in the same places. If they're in the south, they're at H4, 5, 7 and G8. And if they're in the north, they're at D3 and D5 and 6. And they put down covering fire when those scouts are out there. Quick tip, if you're in the mid-game and you're still there, you're probably not helping your team. TDs also go off and help the two pushes. As I said before, the main pushes are on the 1-2 line. The south team, if they've got slow heavies, they usually gather around about G and H1. And there's close quarter combat there. If they've got fast heavies, they can push up. If you're in the north and your heavies are slow, then you usually guard around about E1, E2 and F2. And if you've got fast heavies, you charge back down to G and H1 and have close quarter combat again. You can take a heavy down the 0 line. You'll be accompanied by a lot of mediums and the odd TD. A lot of fighting down there, and it can make or break the map. If you're from the north, then there's a corner at B9, and sometimes you can give TD support from A8. The people from the south are going to be attacking you on E0, poking around the corner. And basically both sides are trying to do exactly the same thing, which is get into the little valley area that you see at CD9. And from that you can sweep into the map and cause all sorts of trouble. So our artillery, you're going to be on the other side of the railway tracks. That's B1, B2 and A3 and 4. You can also find artillery sometimes over at A8, where they're helping with the 9-0 line push. In the south of the map, then you get artillery. They're at K2, 3, 4, and 5. They can also be at K0, and again, if they've got range, sometimes they creep up to G0. So mediums on this map, actually it's pretty much the same places north or south, so let's deal with them simultaneously. If you're one of the fast moving mediums, then you're going to be helping out with the big fight over on the 9-0 line, and it pretty much is a fist fight around about C9 and D0. If you're slower moving, well, you're taking up the rear, helping with spotting, the odd shot firing in. You can of course go over to the 1 line and help in the close quarter combat that you're going to get with the heavies. Take care if you're over there. And where mediums really shine is near the end of the battle, when you're dealing with stopping a base from being capped. You're hull downing, peeking over hills. Suicide Road in the middle, you don't usually go down it. As Meathead pointed out, it's a pro player place. You can go down there mid to late game, but you do run the risk of someone zooming over and jumping on top of you. There are some kooky places you can go as well. C0 is a northern scouting position. If you've got a fast scout, you can get there. A lot of esporters go there during the esport tournaments. I'm not sure it's useful in a random game. Ooh, I should also point out the passive spotting you can do round about AB7. That's actually pretty neat. You can be hold down and see all sorts of stuff going on. K9 is really interesting. If your base is getting capped in the south, you can hide at K9. If you've got a nimble enough scout, pop up, shoot, reset and hide, and then giggle. Steps is a cool map. It takes practice, it takes patience, and it takes opportunity. It can collapse really quickly, and the 9-0 line can be as important as the massive heavy 1 line. So, there's your guide to steps. Please enjoy it. We'll see you on the battlefield.